consult with them. And in terms of, where we may be able to assist with technical assistance and other free business resources within the county and the LA city. We definitely are able to do this through a gracious grant, privately funded by Wells Fargo. And we're happy to, have any referrals from your area who definitely fall within the Together for South LA region that you may be able to, introduce us to so that we can assist them during these times. More information on this program can also be found on the website, which, let's see. There we go. On the www.ledc.org/coronavirus. So if you go onto this website, you'll find more information on the Together for LA program, as well as it will open up to all the business resources that we have under this program. And it can be filtered by the industry of the business type, and the resource type. It may be access to capital that they're looking for. It could also be licensing of their business as a minority-owned business. But this will be more extensive, and it's constantly updated by our peers in terms of what resources are available to them, what grants are now available within that territory. We also offer a lot of free webinars. Some of the upcoming webinars are, for example, some of the key takeaways from the pandemic and preparing for the next disaster. That's going to take place on April 5th at 1:30 p.m. And you can find links to this on our website, as well. If you're on the email list, you will also get a notification on this. Another webinar that we have is on April 20th, and that's small business insurance, and that's at 11 in the morning. Some of our webinars are also found on our website. So if you missed any of our webinars, for example, on March 16th, we had one, Introduction to Government Contracting, which is a lot of interest to some of these businesses that we are identifying. You can go back to our website and you'll find a link so that you could see what this webinar encompassed. And now I'll pass it back to my colleague, Barbara, so she could speak further on another initiative that we've collaborated with.
Thank you, Norma. We're still in COVID, and even though we've come a long way, and recovery is very important to each and every one of us in the welfare of our businesses and sustainability of what we're doing. We've come so far. And so this is a program, this is a very, very useful employer portal with the state of California, and the program is called Safer at Work. You can see we have the banner in our background. It's a one-stop shop, and what I really encourage employers to do is to click on saferatwork.ca.gov to learn more. And that's an area where it's easy to navigate. An employer can click on a box that says employers. You could be looking for free, protective equipment, PPEs. You might be looking for where you can get vaccinations, or even mobile vaccination clinics. By the way, the County of LA does have a mobile vaccination service. So if you want to know more about that, email me and I'm happy to tell you about it. But we've come so far. There are so many myths that also need to be busted about COVID. We really need to make sure that everyone is operating safely. Employees feel safer, your customers will feel safer. Let's continue on this road to recovery. And that's our final word to say. We thank you so much for listening and being a part of this morning's conversation. And we're always available to help you. And going to give it back to Mr. Stewart.
Barbara, would you mind scrolling back to the slide you had, the chart on all the different programs? So I forgot to start recording until late. So anyway, my apologies, but at least I want people to see this, because this is really, really very useful stuff here. This is something, matter of fact, please send it to me. I'm gonna hang on to that one. This is so much is going on. It's really cool stuff.
That's great stuff.
Barry, what I'll also do is I'll send you a PDF of this presentation that you're welcome to share. And Norma and I are very available to speak with anyone you would like. But this is a key slide that I think really, really outlines what we do, that we are a business's no cost, high value connection to resources. And this is high level. Is it everything? No, but these are the major topics that we tend to discuss with businesses having to do with permitting, financing, energy resources. Workforce development is so important now. It's hard to walk into a business, whether it's a brick and mortar or, it's an industrial business, or you're going to the dry cleaners or to your favorite coffee shop. There are so many businesses that are having a hard time, being fully staffed. And workforce is so important, and we certainly connect with our local job centers or the local workforce development boards. And through the LAEDC, we have our Center for Competitive Workforce, where we are connected with the area's community colleges as well as the CSUs. So we're really getting down to the nitty and gritty about what can we do to really help sustain and continue our recovery, no matter the business, no matter the area, and recognizing that we really are poised now to put more resources and more on-site outreach attention into the underserved areas. And we also want to be able to help companies with the bottom line, reducing risk and having them take a better look at their bottom line. Companies have been changing. We've got, the hybrid work model now. And another question on the backside is, does your insurance coverage, your liability, your workers' comp, does that take into account your changing workforce and your changing workplace? And these are some of the areas that we found that several companies, this was a hidden area that companies were not paying attention to. And once they started asking their brokers about, gee, what can you do to help me? My bottom line, I don't have 50 employees anymore. I've got 25. People are working remote. We're doing more online and less in the shop. These are all factors that very easily could affect your coverage. So you don't ask, you've got to ask questions, and we're happy to give you some guidelines, but it all starts with a conversation. Thanks, Barry.
Barry, thank you for bringing that screen up. As you know, Barbara and Norma, thank you for that presentation. What we do here is to support all of our businesses. We have Fortune 100, we have Fortune 500 businesses. We also have the mom and pops, small businesses, and the home-based businesses, and all of them need certain information. One of my concerns is that if we have a large development coming into our city that we are supporting in the hundreds of millions of dollars, we think they should be able to partner with you, and you can kind of give them also access to your permitting process. Now, when it comes down to our small businesses, we have many of our small mom and pop and small restaurants, which we believe will be great and grow greatly in our community and prosper. And the whole issue for those businesses is the permitting, the insurance, in which you can counsel them on in providing services as they recover from this pandemic. How you can find grants, discounts, and fees. How you can deal with the issue, say, you doing a restaurant, you got the grease disposal issues, and also with the air conditioning issues in their facilities. So Barbara and Norma, we would like to have you and work with you on how you can access our business community so we can all prosper. So I guess we will be going and be giving all of our resources and contacting you, Norma and Barbara, as you proceed on with working with us in Carson. Barry, I think that maybe we can do some other contacts and help them work with what they're trying to do.
So a question on that. Outreach is, to me, has always been the hardest part. How do we, especially our small businesses in our underserved areas, which we have those in Carson as well. We have those small businesses. We have plenty of small businesses that are still very much suffering. And how do we reach them to let them know about these programs? Because the city's looking at adding more programs, and do I need to bring somebody in to actually go door to door, or what can we do?
Well, Barry, one thing that we can do, and then I'm going to give Norma some time to talk about Together for South LA program a little bit more. We're now able to do business visits. And I would say, let's try to do them safely. Is there an area that you want us to take a couple of hours in Canvas? Is it possible when you do more in-person events that you would like Norma or myself to be there and to begin to talk about what we do? What we do with other cities is there are some cities that will let us know who's new in town, who was recently applied for a business license. And that's another means of outreach. And I think we want to be effective, so it'll start with a phone call or an email, but a warm introduction always goes a long way.
Yeah.
And
So you will be our liaison, and you and Barbara can work with us and with our business community as they aspire to grow in our community. So I see that. And we just want to see how we can help you do what you want and to do. And that's how we want to work with you. Win-win.
I would say any kind of an opportunity. We're just looking for a sliver of a door opening. You hear of a business, or if you hear new businesses are coming in, or you hear a glimmer that someone needs a little more attention, let us know. What can Together for South LA do, Norma?
Yeah, well, in addition to what Barbara said, other types of outreach that are also things that we address are, for example, inviting, your community to our webinars. Because we do follow with businesses that attend these webinars, and we contact them individually once the webinar is over, because we have the attendance list. So just sharing information on these free webinars and inviting them to participate is another way. A lot of times we know that some businesses do knock on the chamber's door. I used to be part of another chamber, and they want to know where they can access these resources. So when these businesses come to you asking for these resources, like Barbara indicated, a warm introduction would be great, because then we will follow up and inform them of what's available in terms of assistance from where we come.
I should add that you used to do this with us, with the city. When I was working for the city, the LA EDC was always more than happy to join us to go meet with the business. So that's not a new policy, and we've always appreciated that level of support.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your presentation. And what I'm just saying is that we can work together, and we're going to do a win-win with you. Especially a lot of our small businesses don't have the resources to bring in accountants and consultants and who to contact. I know I see Connie Turner here, and she's been very helpful for you working on our community for years to help us to get and navigate our power needs. So this is a very great start, and we're looking forward for more information and your presence. And we'll be inviting you to a number of our events. Thank you very much. Mr. Lopez we would like to bring on Carolyn Terosas.
Yes.
He is just entering. I just
Perfect.
just clicked on the button for her to admit. So perfect timing.
Great.
And she is connecting now.
Okay, when she comes on, I'm going to be, hello, how are you? I'm Mike Stewart of the Carson Chamber Economic Development Committee. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi, Mike, and I'm so apologetic that I'm tardy here, but I was in another meeting, so thank you for letting us go last, but great to see everyone. And I don't know if you wanted me to just go right into it, or if there was any kind of...
We're gonna kind of bring you in easy, but I like to just say thank you for your presence. Thank you for your connection. We would like to find a way how we can work with you and the supervisor, so that we can help you proceed to help us, especially in our community and what we're trying to do. As you're aware, we have many parks, we have county areas. We also just do not represent the city of Carson's area. We also have interest in helping all of us grow in this area of South Bay, especially the unincorporated areas of the county and also other cities that touch us. We're trying to make a positive force and resource and bring you in to showcase Carson and improve us and help us improve our community. Please tell us some few things that's on your mind, how we can work together, because we would like to do a public-private partnership with our community, with you and the supervisor.
Great, Mike, thanks so much. And I also want to thank Barry as well for kind of reaching out and inviting me to come. I think this is a long overdue discussion, but hi, everyone.
You know, I should say, let's drag Barbara into this because we met at the LA EDC's economic forecast just a few weeks ago. So see, it's making connections, not just between businesses, but between the friends of businesses as well. So Barbara's friend is my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And Barbara, I should just say, is really excellent at connecting at anyone who needs help with me and also with the county agencies. So please don't hesitate to use myself and her as resources. But hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn Terosis. I'm Supervisor Mitchell's Senior Deputy for Economic and Workforce Development. I've been with the supervisor as most of her permanent team have for about a year now. And prior to that, I was working in the county for 8 years on a variety of different economic development and affordable housing priority initiatives. I'm an attorney by training, having represented workers in cases of wage theft and other workers' rights issues. So, while we, of course, support our workers in the county, and the Chair Mitchell really wants to make sure that we have dignified jobs for everyone, we also understand that in order to do that, we really need to support our small business ecosystem, which is the backbone of our regional economy. And so we've been working on a number of initiatives. I'll just launch right into it. We have some kind of priorities, and then we have some short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, which I wanted to let everyone know about, because I think as we talk about public-private partnerships, what is mutually of interest to both the chamber and the supervisor, and how can we work together on that? So I would just say her priority as chair, she's chair of the board this year, is building back with equity. And so what does that mean? I know equity is a really popular word right now, but to us, this means, taking a data-driven approach, looking at our communities in the county and specifically the second district that have been historically underinvested in, that have worse health outcomes, worse economic outcomes, environmental stresses, high unemployment, high incidence of COVID. And we've created a COVID vulnerability index. And so we are actually looking at our $1.9 billion of American Rescue Plan Act funding as the kind of first case for how we invest with an equity lens. And so we've taken this COVID vulnerability index, which I can say, our CEO has all this on their website. I can put the link in the chat after I'm done chatting. But basically, how are we putting a disproportionately high amount of investment in businesses, in workers, in health outcomes, in families, in food security, in our most underinvested in communities? And so if you look at, all these factors, you'll see that Carson, West Carson, South LA, et cetera, are areas that we want to make, a large investment in. And so we've put forward a plan that was adopted by the board for the first half of this American Rescue Plan Act funding. And as part of that first half, I'm really excited to say we're launching the county's first guaranteed income program. It's the longest guaranteed income program that we are aware of in the country. And if you want more information, it launches on the 31st, which is Thursday. breathe.lacounty.gov. We will be giving 1,000 residents in the county $1,000 a month for 3 years. And so we're targeting, again, these underinvested census tracts of the county to see, like, how are we delivering our social safety net to our residents? And is there a less punitive and actually less expensive way to do it? So we're partnering with both UCLA and researchers at University of Pennsylvania Center for Guaranteed Income Research, because we want to take this data and really take that to the federal level and think about the way we deliver benefits in this country. I think you all saw with the child tax credit, with some of the direct payments that we received at the beginning of COVID, there's starting to be a body of data around how we deliver benefits. So I know that that's a little bit in the weeds for all of you, but I would encourage breathe.lacounty.gov. Francisco, is it possible to put that in the chat by any chance? I would encourage you, when the program launches at 6 a.m. on March 31st, to tell your folks to apply. I would say the other thing that we've done, which already has closed, unfortunately, we gave back rent payments to our small businesses in the county, up to $40,000 in back rent. And if you, Mike and Barry and all the folks here, if you have a lot of businesses that are behind on rent and they still are in need of assistance, please let me know. Because the other forthcoming programs that we are about to launch are just general grant programs for businesses, both for nonprofits and for-profit businesses. We're also investing in what we call Keep LA County Dining. So if you have restaurants that you represent, we're going to give specific grants to restaurants. We are also, something of very high importance to the supervisor in the short term here, is revitalizing our care economy. So early childhood education, supervisor was the former CEO of Crystal Stairs, making sure that families have appropriate childcare so that they can return to work and feel comfortable returning to work. We've had a lot of businesses who are saying it's hard to get workers back to work. We know that COVID caused what people have termed a she session. We had a lot of women leaving the workforce to care for their families. And so we are really focused on small minority-owned businesses, but also women-owned businesses. And how are we making sure that there's adequate childcare for folks to return to work? But then also, how are we helping those who are working in the childcare industry make appropriate wages and make sure that their businesses are open and ready to accept new children? So we are actually providing specific funding around childcare provider grants. And then we're working with we have a newly established Department of Economic Opportunity, which combines workforce development, business development, our Office of Small Business, our work from our CEO's office into one place to make it a one-stop shop for our businesses. And I'm happy to introduce you as well to their new director. I think it could be helpful if her or one of her staff members comes to talk to you all about their programs, but making sure.
I'm meeting with them tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, right. That's okay. Fantastic. Because we're also really pushing safer at work and shop local. So making sure that our workers are safe when they go back into the workplace, and making sure that we're promoting our local businesses, because the supervisor and quite frankly myself, we know that Main Street USA needs to be kept intact, supported. We need to have anti-displacement mechanisms in place, not only for folks in residential housing, but also for our businesses. And so to that end, in more of our medium-term goals that the supervisor has, we're launching an economic mobility initiative. And that's to help, like I mentioned, the small businesses of color and women-owned businesses scale up and achieve loans and grants, legal assistance, help with potentially either lease assistance or purchase assistance to get into a brick and mortar. And this is one of the first groups I've announced this to, but at our new development at Vermont and Manchester, which is not in Carson, but in South LA, we are doing an actual pop-up space for the entrepreneurs that we're going to help scale up out of the Economic Mobility Initiative, to have them be in a local marketplace for a year, to have that free lease assistance, brick and mortar, scale up, and then hopefully spin them out into their own lease or purchase agreement where they can maintain that property. So making sure that we're really helping support those businesses that have been disinvested in. And then I would say, finally, everything that we focus on is around climate resiliency. And so how are we really making sure that we're taking advantage of the latest technology to create, the green economy of the future, equitable economy of the future, that we are empowering our workers and that we are retraining them for new technology where they can actually get, into these, what we like to call high road jobs. The supervisor is very focused on folks with barriers to employment. And I will say that we have a homeless hiring tax credit that the supervisor championed, and I can put a link in the chat to that as well, where the state legislature actually approved this, and the franchise tax board is giving businesses who hire folks with lived experience of homelessness a $10,000 tax credit per individual hired. And the county can help you with sourcing those folks that are work ready and that have had training and that are appropriately case managed and ready to go. And of course, making sure that we're getting our fair share of federal funding coming down around the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, around all of the state surplus funding that they've had in their budget. And then, of course, the American Rescue Plan Act, not only did we get a local allocation of 1.9 billion, but all of the federal agencies are still implementing specific programs. And so we really want to position LA County as ready to go to take advantage of a disproportionately high amount of that funding that's coming down. So I think right now we're at kind of a once in a generation opportunity to invest differently in our communities. And that's what the supervisor is focused on more so than anything. So I will stop talking because I think what's most important is that we hear from all of you as to what your priorities are. Because this, I will also put a link in the chat. The supervisor does have discretionary funding for specific pilot programs. If there is something that the chamber is working on that we're on, and then potentially use that funding to scale the program up, that's something that we could entertain as a partnership. So happy to hear from you about your concerns and ideas as well. Thank you, Francisco. He put the funding request link in the chat.
By the way, thank you very much for that bountiful amount of information. It was just a great amount. And what we're trying to target here is how we can work with you to develop that target into helping our businesses. For example, you have grant programs and monies for our small businesses, and also for our ladies who are in business for themselves. I saw that targeting. Also, I saw the targeting where you're talking about economic vitality for our businesses and connecting them to this amount of funds. 1.9 billion, is that the first tranche or the second tranche of these of the COVID relief bill? Is that the total amount?
So 1.9 is the total amount. We already put a plan out, which I just put in the chat, for 975 million of the 1.9. And we are getting ready to think about the next tranche in May. And so I would also say, Barry, when you meet with Kelly, for example, if there are really good ideas that the chamber wants to implement, the departments of the county are the ones who are going to bring forward programs to the board. So if you look at if you look at that document I put forward, the departments through CBOs and other networks that they're working with are implementing all of these programs. So I would say now would be the appropriate time to get in a little budget request or potential program plan or design.
So our chamber can kind of bring in those folks that we'd like to present to you, and then you can kind of target them and working to the right resource. Or do we have to go to the county CEO? I like to just work with Callan Terosas. I think that's a wonderful.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. I would say, tell me a little bit more, Mike, about what it is that your priorities are. Is it just, hi, I want grants for our businesses, or is it, we have a specific industry that we're trying to target to support? Tell me a little bit more, or tell me more about what your most highest concerns are for the chamber.
Well, what we can get together on that and meet with you, Barry and Mr. Chang. I think we all have some concerted efforts. I like to open some of the people here present to ask you questions, if that's all right, Barry. I think we can do that now, but I know you have a report to give also.
Yeah, I'm sure that people have questions, and we didn't ask for questions after the LAEDC presentation. So
I'm gonna ask our chair of Economic Development Commission for the city of Carson. See, we're the economic development for our business community, and we work hand in hand. And by the way, we are in a joint partnership with you right now. As you proceed to do what you want to do, we're here. Mr. Aldridge.
Okay, well, thank you very much, both of you, for your presentations. That was very interesting, very interesting. And being a small business owner myself, I did have, as both of you are doing your presentations, I was listening, and I was going back over my 37 years in business of questions that I would have had as a new business. And we found ourselves, the city of Carson received some grant money for the COVID epidemic. And they set up programs for loans and grants to small businesses. And the biggest obstacle we found was that small businesses, even though they're mom and pops and they're trucking along, everything is going great until something happens, then they need to ask for help. They noticed that almost half the money that they set up for the grant program was used up with consultants because the small businesses were never, I guess, told or everybody knows, instinctively, but they didn't have their books together, basically. It's like, okay, to qualify for this program, you need to, fill out this application. You need to, present your books, your balance sheet, your spreadsheet, and most of the small business were like, well, here's my checking account balance, is that good enough? And therefore they did not know anything about applying for whether grants, loans, employment type things. Is like, insurance. What do you mean insurance? We're just a family-owned business. We don't have workers' comp insurance, because and they didn't know those things. Yep. So in both of your presentations, I was kind of looking for that piece, and it may have been, buried under a subtitle, but that's what I think many especially small businesses would need to know, because you're presenting all you got $10 million here and $5 million there, programs that are coming to Carson and all. The problem is I can't apply for any of it because my stuff is not together. So I think that would be the first step.
Like, honestly, you're hitting the nail on the head. Thank you for bringing that up. And I'm glad that you're reinforcing this issue. I didn't know if this is something that you all have experienced, but we actually established a small business legal assistance program, which I want to connect with our department to get you all the information for how you apply, because we know, like, for a fact that so many businesses were not able to take advantage of grant programs under CARE. Right. And we're having the exact same problem under ARPA, especially, like, for example, like I said, we already did that $40,000 in back rent. Some of the businesses that applied, let's just be honest, like, maybe they're paying people under the table. Maybe they're cash. Maybe they don't have the indemnity or insurance requirements. Like, it has been very challenging to just get basic paperwork together for some folks. And we had that the technical assistance in advance of these programs being launched is important, so all these businesses are ready with their paperwork and can actually get the grants. Because unfortunately, the federal dollars do have some requirements where we do have to ask some questions. That's not to say that we don't think we need to be reaching out into the community where folks don't have, a lawyer on retainer or accountant. Like, people need that help to get their paperwork together. So let me get back with you on the flyer for the legal assistance. But then if you look at that spending plan, there's a bunch of like outreach and technical assistance programs, which we've also said before we do the grant program, which will probably in like June or July, they can't launch it unless they do outreach to our hardly served communities and get folks ready to apply. I don't know, Barb, if you wanted to add anything on the technical assistance and help that LEDC can provide with BTA.
You're muted.
You're muted.
We can't hear you.
I never do that. Oh, wait. I haven't done that in a minute and a half now.
By the way, Norma just put in the chat box about like one or two of the upcoming Together for LA, Together for South LA webinars dealing with just that topic. Carolyn, I couldn't agree with you more that what we've been finding is so many businesses are not aware of the grants, and by the time they're aware of them, it's too late. They might not have their paperwork or their documentation or their business paperwork ready to go. And also they might be in an area where they're the victim of the digital divide. And that just when they get to the portal crashes, whether it's because of where they're based or whether it's a bigger issue. So something that we all try to do is really speak with the business and encourage businesses to take advantage of programs. As this is the time now to make sure that you're, file your taxes, get your paperwork put together. because you can't afford to lose valuable time to file documentation that demonstrates that you're an official business when timelines are so strict with the grants. And when they're in, they're in. But a lot of this is the coach or the consultation that all of us on, the business assistance team can do. Our team works countywide. And even though I'm the person and I cover a good deal of the South Bay area, but as you have members who come from additional cities, including the city of LA. So you can come to me first. I'm more than happy to do an initial consult and then refer to one of my associates who covers an area that the business is located in. We want to see as many people qualify and apply for programs, but you also have to be prepared.
We really like what Mr. Aldridge said. I have a couple of small businesses. I'm going to give them some time. Emma, are you on? Emma Upshaw? I believe she's listening in. And Cheryl Cooks, are you on? I think they're listening in. I'm gonna see if they.
Yeah, she's from the South Bay Workforce Investment Board, the Carson One Stop. Well, I can tell you from the Chamber's perspective, we pushed the city with their program to say, look, you're trying to help these businesses out and they don't have the technical resources to fill out the paperwork and they don't have the books and such. So what the city had done was they just hired somebody to do that for them and said, ta-da, you're done. Good luck with that. Instead of teaching them how to do their books. So they're working on some new programs now, and they're going to be bringing in the Small Business Development Center that can provide them with the training they need to actually do this on an ongoing basis and have books that are up and running and teach them about workers' comp insurance and liability insurance, just the little pieces that make a business work. Those are all the resources that we can bring. And they didn't think of doing that before, which I don't blame them for it, because the idea was, look, we're in a hurry, let's just get going. But I was disturbed to hear that they said, well, that was a mess, so we won't do that again. Like, no, let's do it again and let's learn from what didn't work and let's build on it so that we can help these businesses out and not pretend like everything's okay. So Carolyn, back to you.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike, I'm sorry. This is Emma Upshaw. I'm sorry I couldn't answer. I was trying to make a note of some of the things that was in the chat, and I didn't switch back to you fast enough. But I'm thankful to Ray Aldridge for what he said, because he hit the nail on the head for us at Fresh and Meaty Burgers. So I was trying to get down as much of this information as I could so that we can contact both LAEDC and the other company here. I'm kind of slow. I'm doing this on my phone, so I was kind of late switching back, but we are very interested, and we do need the help with the different grants and resources, and we'll pretty much have our paperwork, I think, together. We just need a little guidance. So I'm trying to make sure I get this information down so that we can contact you.
Yeah,
I believe we can help with that too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray.
No, I was just going to ask, would that be, because unfortunately with Zoom, the stuff is in the chat. And as Emma just stated, you're trying to take down the information because you realize when Zoom is over, that chat is gone. And so they need some place for it to be posted after the chat is over. So does the chamber have that information where they might put it on their website or at least how to contact these companies? Because it's kind of hard to listen to new information, write it down, and then also answer questions and be involved in the conversation. So it would be great to have this same information that's listed in the chat to also be available after the Zoom meeting is over today. So I'd appreciate that.
I'm trying to actually update onto our website as we're talking. So
okay, great.
I'm sure I won't make any mistakes.
We're sure of that too, Barry.
Barry, this is Lena. Barry, this is
Lena.
Lena. Regarding the what's in the chat, what's written there in the chat, and it comes up on the screen. If you're recording this session, does it mean that that actually is recorded also? Do we actually see a shot of that as well? Okay,
Yeah, and
so
so
that's
this-
at least a start.
Yeah, I will post this up to onto YouTube, onto our YouTube channel, and then I'll put a link back on our website. So that will be on there in our blog. And I'm adding these links into our resource page. So is there a link for the supervisor's office in general for economic development that would be the right spot for a start?
Well, I mean, I think that like Cisco put in the chat if you want to submit a funding request.
Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, that you got that. I would just talk to me directly. We do have a website, but it's economicdevelopment.lacounty.gov.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat. But again, I think I am the senior deputy over economic development. So anyone on our team can filter that through me or Francisco. I also put our economic development website, but I think what you're asking for, Barry, is probably like to be communicated with programs to make sure that like all of your members can apply.
Yeah, so I have on our resource page, we have the Small Business Development Center, CMTC, the Workforce Investment Board, EDD, the SBA, lots of letters here, Edison, the state, the city. So I will add something there for the supervisor's office. How do I not have the LAEDC here? Barbara, you should beat me next time you see me. I deserve it.
So I am so sorry. I have to go to another meeting right now, unfortunately, but.
What a shock. It is just how we do, right? We understand.
Right. No, but I'll put my email in the chat if it hasn't been shared already, and anyone can feel free if they want to talk, in a smaller group about ideas that you have and potential partnership opportunities if we wanted to do something for the local community. I know that, our office has spent a lot of time dealing with the Dominguez channel. And if there was anything related to like business interruption, specific funding for that, I think like anything we can tie to a local need, we would be very interested in chatting further about like submitting a funding request for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your taking the time out
I have
to be
a
here.
further thing though, Barry, for both for Carolyn and both for Barbara and Norma. Part of our thing is expansion, new business, bringing in new business. But another part of it is business retention, especially for our big businesses who are going through issues. They want to grow. They need help in the permitting process. They want to know what kind of resources for our larger businesses to expand their ability to hire our folks and to expand and do, especially goods movement and warehouse business. On the smaller end, we need to find out how, on the long run, how we can establish that link and resource partnership whereby we can retain the small businesses and entrepreneurs that are coming into the business. Because I believe that the great entrepreneurs are still growing here in Carson. They may not have a business yet, but they are here and they will develop in Carson.
Okay, so I really have to go, but Barry, when you talk with Kelly from our new Department of Economic Opportunity, I think the real question is, so we have a small business concierge that's supposed to be helping you through the entire process. How good they are is a different story. I would give her that feedback because I think we want to target, we already asked regional planning to put an expediter. I think we want to target streamlined entitlements, permits, assistance for certain types of businesses of certain sizes in certain areas of the county. That's 100% in line with what we're trying to do around the equity agenda. So I really have to go, but I like where this is going. I think these are all really important.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And follow up with me. I put my email in the chat and let's keep chatting. Okay, everyone?
Got it. Thanks much.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much.
Barry,
Hi,
you have your presentation. I'd like to hear yours for.
Just let me talk about some retail data here real quick. just take a minute of your time.
Barry, this is Sherelle. While you're looking for that,
Yes.
I just wanted to say that you can actually download the information in the chat. It can literally download into, and it'll look like just scripted information, but everything that's listed or typed in the chat can be downloaded, but you have to give access from the beginning.
I will try that. See, I've learned something new today. Thank you, Sherelle. I
Now, does
appreciate
that,
You're
does
welcome.
that have to be done while the chat is going on, downloading it, or is it something
No.
that we can do individually?
Well, the host, that has to be taken care of prior to
okay.
the meeting starting. But once that happens, you can download it at the end of the meeting. But once the meeting is done, then you can't go back and download the chat
Okay.
information.
Thank
All
you.
right, I will give that a shot. So I wanted to give you some retail data that I worked up yesterday with ESRI, which is the big geographic information company out of Redlands, California. And I work with this is the stuff that I teach. So if it looks a little familiar to you. And so we're looking a little about where we expect the demand to be changing in the next 5 years. Wanted to look at a few standouts here for our community. And something to remember off the top is always when you're talking about Carson data, it's based on our nighttime population. So in other words, people who live here, and it doesn't include all the people like me and many of you who live in surrounding communities and come spend the day here and spend money here as well. So the actual numbers are higher than this. Keep that in mind. So you can see a large increase in the entertainment and recreation category. So all of these are potential opportunities, and I'm happy to share this with anyone. I can send it to you. And I wanted to jump to a favorite of ours, which is on the food area, because restaurants are obviously a big deal in Carson. And are they all under food or? Yeah, okay. So there's two categories. There's food at home and food away from home. So you can see food at home expected a $25 million increase. So who does that entice? That's your grocery stores. And if you weren't aware of it, we have an Aldi store going up at the mall across the street in what used to be Sears, a portion of that. So they're even using the basement of that for storage, by the way. It's kind of interesting. And then if we look at food away from home, that's restaurants. And you can see that as a big number. And we're looking at a substantial increase of $18 million. So, and again, this is just based on our nighttime population. Yet in the daytime population, the number's even larger. So there's some definite opportunities there. And let's see, what else did I want to point out as being significant? On the home side, this is one that I think is out of date, the mortgage payment and basics, because these have shot up in the last couple of years, and I don't think the data really has caught up to that. Furnishings is a big one where we actually bring in more money than our residents spend, and that's one word answer to that, which is IKEA. That's a huge impact. And then obviously these categories are a little bit crazy as far as gasoline goes all over the place. That number can be quite varied. And then look here, health insurance, that's another big one. So it just gives us some ideas that there are definitely some opportunities in Carson where there are some big growth numbers here. And by the way, if you don't think that Carson residents are saving for their retirement, look here, we can see the value of investments. Let's just take these first two lines is what, 2/3 of $1 billion. Again, 2/3 of $1 billion, $650 million. That's hefty. And so that means that people are looking ahead and some pretty hefty numbers. So that's all I wanted to share with you. Again, if anybody would like that, I'm happy to send it to you. And I have some other tables to go with it, but in the interest of your time, and nobody likes to keep people away from lunch. So I won't do that to you.
Well, we're going to be closing, but I just like to say thank all of our guests for coming in and speaking to us. Thank you for your participation. Remember, future items of discussion will be the budget, how of the city of Carson, how they're going to spend their money for the next fiscal year. And we'll be probably going into talking again with our Director of Finance in the meeting of April. We're also would like to do a development projects analysis. We have a list of development projects, including something we're anticipating, our bikeway projects and all of those. We'd like to see where that is going. We want to see where some of our roads and streets and those things, where they're going to do with that. And also for our county people who are still on, remember there's a street and there's Victoria Park, and there's a street called there's a street called Martin Luther King Street, which needs someone to look at. And we would suggest that
in other places, people pay for a ride like that. At Disneyland, you pay for that kind of a ride. And for those of you who have not been on it and think that perhaps we are exaggerating, try it, and then you will be with us. It is crazy.
We had a bike tour.
Landfill, so that's the problem.
We had a bike tour over the weekend, and we went down that street on our bicycles, and people asked about it. They said, well, did you guys plan this to do that? I said, no, it wasn't planned that way. It's just, that's the way it happened so far.
Well, we wish to thank you for coming to our meeting. We're going to adjourn this meeting, but we're adjourned in the process of public-private partnership of all of us with our organizations and our representatives. Our goal is to have a public-private partnership with our businesses, our community, with our elected officials and our county supervisor, and also LAEDC. So we can work with you, and we want to say, how can we work with you and help you do what you do? And with that, thank you for attending this meeting, and we're going to end this meeting at this time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon.